All right, awesome. So we are going to be reading 2 books in the coming months. Starting after Christmas break, we're starting to read Great Gatsby. How many of you guys are seniors in here? So you guys have read Great Gatsby, right? So I give my little spiel to seniors, which is that I read this book every year. I reread it. It's probably been like 20 times now. It's like the great book of American literature, I think. It's also short and enjoyable. So I still want you guys to read it again with us. The rest of us, you haven't read Gatsby before, have you? Anybody else read it? It's awesome. Oh, you have, Sam? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Sam, you're going to read it again. It's an awesome book. It's plot-driven. It's about and drinking, so that's always fun. It's about unrequited love, so teenagers sometimes like it that way. And it's about rich people and the American dream, and it's just like a great book. So we're going to read this one the way that you normally do in English class, which is in sections. So I'll assign a couple chapters. You'll come to class. We'll talk about this couple of chapters. So this isn't one like between where you just have to finish it and come to class. That being said, just in case you want to get a head start because you have 2 weeks of Christmas break, or in case something happens with our case numbers, I'm going to get it to you today. So we started, I think, like January 13th, and there's that one. The other book that I'm going to give you, you have options for. So let me grab our 3 options. You can choose to read Their Eyes Were Watching God, The Things They Carried, or Of Mice and Men. These are all books that we traditionally read like in other departments for American Lit under the 11th grade year. So I would love if you guys chose something you haven't read before. So Carson, I know you've read Of Mice and Men. I want you to choose one of these other 2. Which one did you read last? Did you read any of these last year, Emily? No? Okay, perfect. How about you, Sam? Did you read any of these last year? Of Mice and Men, The Things They Carried, or Their Eyes Were Watching God? Okay. No. But Lily, you have? So choose one that you haven't read before. But here are your options. So Of Mice and Men, that might be the one that's like the most famous on this list. This one's by John Steinbeck. It is about 2 friends. One is mentally handicapped, and the other one kind of looks out for his friend. And they are working on a farm, and they have dreams of someday owning their own land. So it's about the American dream in terms of like we would call it the agrarian ideal, that everybody gets kind of their own piece of property, their own piece of land that they can own in their country. Okay, so that's this one, Of Mice and Men. The second one is called The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. This one is about Vietnam. So Tim O'Brien the author served in Vietnam, so it's largely autobiographical, but technically it is fiction. It's one of those that it's like pretty much real life, but he does fictionalize some things. It's called fiction. It's interlocking short stories. So there is a through line that you follow a plot, but each of the stories is kind of its own thing. So sometimes teachers will teach it separately. This one was probably my favorite book in high school. I really connected with this. I really loved reading about the 60s. I thought it was a fascinating time period. And I liked reading about like political injustices. Like that was very fascinating to me. So this would be the one out of 3. I think if I were choosing, I would choose this one. However, this one does get challenged quite a lot. All 3 of these are approved by the district, but this one is like full of bad language and violence. Obviously it's about war, so it's full of violence, but there's also like a lot of F words in this book. Yes, sir. And words even worse than F words. Like, I think there's a scale, right? Like C words, F words, I don't know. Anyway, it's in there. So if you have any issues with language, or you know your parents are going to have those issues, then probably don't choose The Things They Carry. But if you're okay with it, then this is a great book. I would say he has a whole chapter about why he chooses to use that language. That's one of the best chapters in the book. It was kind of like, if you can handle reading about war, if you can't handle swearing and you don't like the language that people who get sent to war use, then maybe you should not vote for people who send us to war. Like that's kind of how he uses it. So anyway, that one. And then the next one is Their Eyes Were Watching God. This one is by Zora Neale Hurston, who you have already read. She also wrote that essay, How It Feels to Be Colored Me. Yeah. So that one is a lot about race and gender. It's more about gender than it is about race, quite honestly. It's more about a woman who is kind of expected to marry, and she keeps trying that out, marrying different people, and it keeps not working out for various reasons. It's poetic. If you like maybe more flowery language, but that makes it sound negative. Like if you love reading like really good sentences, if you like poetry, if you like Jane Austen, then Their Eyes Were Watching God would be a really good one for you. I will say this one is written in dialect in a lot of sections. So she is, the main character in this is a Southern Black woman in the 1930s. And so her dialect can sometimes be, can sometimes be a little bit difficult for students to read. And so, but you get into you get into her mind in a really cool way. I would say this one could be really good on audio too, if you like listening to stuff on audio. Some famous people have recorded this one. Okay, so it kind of comes down to your interest. You are going to choose one of these 3 books to read. And you're gonna be, when we come back, it'll be like, you will have to have read this by like February 1st. You've got a little while. When you get back on February 1st, you'll have kind of self-selected into different book groups, and we'll kind of have a book club-like atmosphere where you're sharing information about your book. So this one, if you're interested in like the agrarian ideal and disability studies. This one, if you're interested in politics and Vietnam in particular. This one, if you're interested in gender and race, it's this one, or the South, this one's good. Okay, so you get to choose which one you want to read. It looks like Of Mice and Men is shorter, but the writing, and especially in the things they carried, the typeface looks like this, and in The Mice and Men, the typeface has no margins, so they end up being relatively the same length, I would say. So if that is your reason, if you're like, look at this and you're like, it's tiny, I'm going for this one, they're relatively the same. For you guys at home, you're just gonna tell me which one you choose and tell me in the chat box. And then for everybody else, I'm gonna get this checked out to you today. If you're at home.
Which was the one about the Vietnam one?
The Things They Carried. Is that the one you wanna do?
Yeah, I'll do that one.
You're thinking about it, okay. Yeah, The Things They Carried is the Vietnam one. Okay, so what I'll have you do is take a second, think through. If there's someone you want to be in a group with, then decide together which one you're going to read. I don't think this class really has any tight-knit, except for maybe Emmeline, if you want to talk to Lily, she's on here. Okay. Anyway, choose your book, and then come back here, and on that back shelf, all the books are there. You'll pick one of those, and then you'll pick up a Gatsby from the white crate, and you'll join me over in Bruce Springsteen corner over there, and I'll check it out too. Okay. Sam, oh no. Just all the Bruce butt right there. Nice. A student gave me that, and it feels weird to just have his butt just, yeah, but what do you do?
Have you seen it's called Blinded by the Light?
Yes, the Indian one, or I guess it's British with the Indian kid. Yeah, it was heartwarming, I thought.
I liked it.
Yeah. Okay, let me pull up the program. Okay, put in your student ID. That would help. Yes, it's so good. She teaches him how to be a country guy because he has to hide from the mob. He's a New Yorker. Thank you. Okay. Put in your ID. It's a musical too, and Sylvester Stallone sings. We have another one. This one, I think, is the same one that's been having issues.
Do I need to put my number in again?
Nope. I get to find out who the bad kids are, the ones who choose Vietnam book.
Well, it's not always gonna swear.
Thanks, Maddie. Awesome. Stamp in your student ID. Okay, put in your student ID.
You stop reading the book. You're just gonna come to me and Isaac and be like, so what
I
happened?
think you're gonna like the things they carried. It has a lot of big ideas. They seem like something. It seems like you're gonna. Oh nope, you don't. There you go.
Thank you.
I already have a copy of the
Awesome.
original.
Then put in your code. I didn't mention this book also has some language that sometimes
Oh, yeah.
people object to. But it's really minimal. I think you'll be fine.
I just picked it because it's a little bit short.
Yeah. All right, put in your code.
I've actually already read the things I carried.
You have? Did you like it?
Yeah, I really liked it. I read it in like 7th grade, I think.
Wow. Did it like disturb you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's that water buffalo scene that yeah.
Isaac, come on, can you get down here? You're good.
Hello. Okay, put in your code.
Oh my gosh, Stillman had to read this book before me. That's dope. We're gonna joke about that.
Very good.
I'm so used to typing in my lunch. It's so easy now
Alright.
to do it wrong.
Try again.
There we go.
I'm hoping this Gatsby work. It has a big scratch. Will you grab a different Gatsby for me? Oh, and Mallory's a bad kid. Okay.
What? Huh? You already knew that though.
What? I said you're a bad kid. Oh.
Look on her face.
Okay, put in your code.
I did not remember. It's been a while.
They say stuff too.
Here you go. So put in your code. Enter. Perfect.
Wrong desk. No, they all went on the same desk. You have to figure out
Okay, put in your code.
which one. Well, I know which ones are supposed to go on. So.
I don't think I talked up of mice and men too much in this class. Here, will you put that in? Will you put in your code?
Oh, yeah. I might have messed up.
No, you got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, put in the code.
Do I have to enter?
Yeah. There you go. Alright. Put in the code. Awesome.
I'm gonna see Lily in like 2 hours.
Perfect. Do you know her? Did she give you your student ID? Okay, let's put in Lily's first. Okay. That makes things easy. Those are Lily's. And you won't want to mix them up because should we put a little, we could put a sticky note on it because you don't want to get, if irresponsible Lily doesn't turn in her things. Hi, can I make sure she's here? She is not here. Thank you. Okay, so put these on Lily's books. And then these are yours.
your number?
Sorry, I was just looking. Okay, yes. Yeah, go for it. Oh, try again. Those are Emmeline's.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, give me a moment to get situated here now. Then which one did I give you? I do not remember, but you have it. So just remind me. I want to say you did the things they carried. Lily's going to do Zorn and Hurston. I got yours to Emmeline. Eli's going to do the things they carried. So Eli, you can come in anytime to pick that up. There are also plenty of copies online, the free PDFs, or if you like a physical copy, there's it's very cheap to get used especially. So whatever you want to do for that. I could also check one out too and take it down to the main office if you don't want to come. Oh, perfect. All right, then I'm going to shut up. All right, so here's the deal. If you start reading your book and you decide that you don't love it, you have 2 other copies. Did everyone who wanted the things they carried get it? Because there are others. Okay, cool. I just noticed you got the last one. So yeah, if you're reading the things they carried and you read something and you were like, oh, actually, this is really disturbing. I would like to read Mice and Men. It's also just, to be frank, they're all a little disturbing because it's me and I like disturbing books. But if for whatever reason, you're reading Their Eyes Were Watching God and you're like, this vernacular, this dialect is kind of hard. I'd like to try something else. Just come in. I've got copies of everything. I could give you all 3 of the books. And also, if you are being ambitious and you're like, I'd like to read more than just this one, I can give you more too. You could, and then you'd be my favorite student.
Do you get extra credit?
No. The only thing I'm going to do for Hearts of Gold is the buyout day, yeah. Well, I guess I could make up an essay and then charge, because we don't have any more essays due before Christmas, so I could just save it and do, and then you give me money. All right. So I have something to tell you you're not gonna like, considering what you just said. That we're gonna do one more timed essay today. Did you see it on the schedule?
No.
Look at the schedule. I hate breaking the bad news. I want the schedule to do it for me.
So this is the last essay we're writing.
My
Yes.
hand is gonna hurt.
Yes. Let me look. Can I look at the schedule really quick? I want to make sure that
I'd rather do this last.
Yeah, actually,
I'll get this.
All right, let me tell you my reasoning for this, first of all. All right, do you see you might not have your schedules with you. Just so you know, this is the way the next couple of weeks are going. Today is our last day talking about rhetorical analysis until May. So you've got, what I want to do then is kind of test with this in-class essay, how much you've learned, where you are, when we come back in May, how much I'm going to need to do to kind of get us up to where we need to be, right? So this is kind of your final chance to prove to me what you know on this timed thing. Then, starting next week, we start talking about the American dream and we start working on arguing. So over the weekend, I'm going to have you filling out a little form. It looks like this, but it's digital, where you are going to plan. I'm going to give you a debate topic, and you are going to plan what your arguments would be on a debate. So it's going to be a debate about the possibility of what the American dream is, according to the first quote to use the term American dream. So I'm going to give you that quote and I'm going to say, okay, in 2020, how realistic is the American dream? Is it a possibility? And you're going to kind of plan your arguments for that. This is an informal type assignment. It's kind of like is what you would use for your notes if you were to stand up here and do the debate. We're going to spend next week kind of looking at structure, and we are going to look at, that's different. I've kind of changed some things up. We're going to look at structure, and we're going to look at just introduce this idea of the American dream. And then after the break, on your schedule, it says argument essay. We won't be ready for that. So over Christmas break, really all you need to do is start reading these books so that you won't get so far behind in January. Yeah, so you won't have writing homework over the break, and then we come back strong after the break, though, and we start, really figuring out how to make our arguments effective. Emily?
When we're reading the books, is there one that we should prioritize first?
Well, if I were you, I would read the one that you're reading in these book clubs first, because Gatsby I have divided out. We're going to spend more intense class time close reading Gatsby, and so it'll be useful to have that fresh on your mind if you read it along with us, starting in January. Yeah, Tiana?
Should we annotate all of the
Good question. For Gatsby, how do I want to do that? I don't think I'm going to do annotations for this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Here's why. I'm not doing you a favor. I don't know why. I always want to justify it when kids are excited. I'm like, but it's not for you. I don't know why. But I will say the reason is because we're going to be using it for arguing, not analyzing. And so you don't need the close attention to detail that we need for the rhetorical analysis. That's why. So we're not going to do annotations for it. Instead, you're going to have kind of responses like our Ta-Nehisi Coates responses were, which are not in the grade book yet, by the way.
What you do is you just say no annotations, but then don't give the reason. You just say it's a Christmas present.
You're welcome. Hearts of gold.
You're
In the
welcome.
spirit of charity. But that's not why. That's not why. I like making your lives difficult, which is why we're going to do this time essay here.
No.
I don't either.
It's for the kids. I'll do it.
Take it.
You're answering government.
You have to send a picture of it.
I did an essay. Okay, let me do this.
I don't want to do this at home. Yeah.
I don't want to do
It hasn't been as much of hands-on with the kids and everything.
Okay, everyone take 2 lined pieces of paper because you're being optimistic.
I'm hard being optimistic when I have to write something.
As far as
I'll take you the number 10.
Nice.
Oh, we have exactly number 13.
So that's it.
Do you have another one? I have more.
Okay, for you guys at home, I'm going to make sure I gave you the prompt on the Canvas page. So Sam, if you're in the car, you're not going to be able to do this with us. You're going to have to do it later.
I'm 2 minutes away from my house.
Perfect. Perfect. So you can run into your house and start an essay. That's just what you always wanted.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm sorry, guys. Give me a minute. Do some meditation to plan for this. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. You're so kind. Okay, thank you. Cooper.
I'll see you.
Cooper. It's always in this class.
I knew it.
It's horrible.
Hey, now you can just write music all day long.
I gotta do all this.
No, he's gonna go home and do this essay.
Yeah, that's true.
Good luck, Cooper. Join us on Zoom call.
Cooper, can I make fun of you over a classroom?
Yes, you can make fun of me and I will text you and yell at you. I might FaceTime you and yell.
You're like, get out of here.
You just sing over it.
By the sadness, the despair.
Use Cooper as the reason that you're gonna do good on this essay.
This essay's for Cooper.
This essay is for Cooper.
This essay's dedicated to the kid that has to leave the English class and never came back.
Oh, no.
I'll come back. He came back. I know, I was like, "He's coming back."
Okay, you at home, Eli and Lily and Ben and Sam. So I've put the prompt online now. You can choose how you want to do this. If you'd rather type it, then you can do it in a Google Doc. And if you would rather handwrite it, you could do it that way, whichever you want. These guys have to do it handwritten, but you guys, you can do it either way. So I'm going to time you, same as them. So just open this, but don't start reading until I tell them to start the time. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it is in the module for today. So refresh the Canvas page and it's called Timed Essay Prompt. It's just a PDF in there. Okay. All right, you guys ready? So before I pass this out, let me give you a little instructions for this. Now, this is kind of cheating because the test, they won't be able to do this for you. This is not fully satire, but there are moments in it that use satirical techniques. So there are moments in it where she is making little jokes, and you can use things like irony or reversal or understatement or whatever you find in this. You don't have to just talk about satire in this though, because it is not just satire. By the end, she gets going into a kind of a more straightforward argument. But the key here is still the same with satire, where you are looking for the underlying argument to what she's saying on the surface. Okay. Ultimately, it's going to come down to if you identify the tone correctly. If you can figure out her tone, then you're going to get good
So we
shape.
just say like what she's using the satire for.
If satire is a technique you want to talk about in it, you could. And you're saying, yeah, what is she critiquing?
In the box, the number of questions you are answering.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull up timer. You have 40 minutes for this. You want to pace yourself.
What are we arguing? So we're reading it and then what?
It's a rhetorical analysis. So it says, analyze the strategies she uses to characterize the upper Midwest. And
Okay, cool.
in the Canvas, yeah, for today. All right, before you guys start, everybody at home, you guys are ready? It looks like it. Okay, cool. Then 40 minutes, everybody's ready? Okay, go.